Well, good afternoon. This is Kathleen Dudley coming from New Mexico. I wanted to talk to you today about something that's been on my mind for a while. It's about how do we center? How do we get calm? How do we find a place in our lives today when life is so full of challenges? Is it any different today than it was 50 years ago or 300 years ago? Is this a unique time? I contemplate that often and have come to realize that it's only unique to our lives, but everyone has the same challenges, that of what takes them to a place, to their knees, where they then have to make a choice of how to respond during that challenge. It's no different for you. It's no different for me. It's no different for our ancestors, whether it was 100 or 1,000 years ago. So today, I want to talk about how do we accomplish that calm, that centeredness in our lives. I'll talk from my perspective because I like to use my own self as the example. I experiment with myself and have throughout my entire life. So I'll go back to when I first started meditating. I came to meditation with a great resistance. I did not want to meditate. I did not want to sit still. It's very interesting. I think we all have to look at that very issue. How can we be still? Are you able to be still? It turns out that being still is the basic requirement for being introspective, for taking a look and taking responsibility for our lives today. So I went into a 2-week meditation retreat, a silent retreat, and came out hungering for stillness. Those 2 weeks changed me. And that was 10 years ago. So today I do sit with stillness every day. And I realize then, that and everyone possesses this, and that is discipline. But we must assert discipline. If we do not have discipline in our lives, we will have a very sorry life. Discipline allows us to achieve on all the different levels. We can achieve balance in our own health. We can achieve balance in our own mental processing. We can achieve balance in our own emotional state so that our emotions don't fling us from one end of the field to another every single moment of the day. Discipline is necessary. It is the core of life. At least that is what I have found. I use discipline to sit meditation. I use discipline to eat properly for my health and healing and wellness. I use discipline for the joy that I have in my life, the time with others. I use discipline, understanding that I must have responsibility in all the arenas of my life, for myself, for the animals in my care, for the people in my life. I must have discipline in order to be responsible in all those areas. And then out of that comes a sense of freedom. How can we be free if we are not the master of our own ship? If we don't have discipline to determine the direction of our life, to determine the health of our life, to determine the joy in our life. I like to begin a day with meditation and prayer and recognize at that same time that this day is a special day of my life. a sacred day, a beginning of a new day. I sit back and I wonder and I embrace the adventure of that day every day. It's a mantra that I use. And with that, I greet my day. At the end of the day, instead of lying in bed, going over all the things that didn't work that day, I review everything that occurred that brought me learning, where I learned, where I grew, and I express gratitude for all that. The experiences, the people, the animals, the moments between the silence and the noise. And that is what I inculcate my mind with before I fall asleep, so that my own dreaming, my dream state, can be pleasant and take me through a peaceful and restful sleep. Now, so there's responsibility and there's freedom. Freedom to what? To choose. It's necessary that in every moment we choose. What else is freedom? We choose when to get up, when to go to bed, what to think, what to eat, what to drink, who to spend our time with, how to apply our energies, what to accomplish, what to bring us joy. We choose. Choice is the foundation. These are all very big and important aspects of living and living a fully mature adult life. We must get there. We're pretty much aware that we're in the middle of a war against humanity, this war, the evil against good, that this is a spiritual war. Yes. And as duplicitous, as challenging, as horrific, as difficult as it is for many, there are benefits that have come from that and continue to come from that. This is a war. This is a spiritual war, as we have heard. But what does that mean? What does that mean to you? This is a spiritual war. Are we here for a physical experience? Are we here for a soul experience? I know for myself, while it is a physical experience because I'm living in a physical body, this is definitely a soul experience. If we look at religions and why they have been created, and regardless who the perpetrators were who created these and used them against us, perhaps to lead us like a bull is led by a ring through their nose. There are some who say that religions are more about setting principles, and it's not so much about the religion itself, but the high values, and that it's the values that matter, that we take this time and we become introspective. We do the things that we know are the correct things to do in life, not the things that harm people, but that help people to become better people like ourselves. It's a very important thing to realize that there are principles. We live at a time when, for many decades, they have been eroded. And the programming has been quite complete. We see the degradation of values. We see the divorce rates climbing, spiking. We see the pillars of society not offering us principles but showing how one can circumvent principles for the most part. So let us take a look at what is a principle. And rather than me clearly stating what my principles are, I would like to put forth to all of you that you sit with that. What is principle to you? What does it mean? What are society's principles? Look for examples. Look to your parents. Look to elders. Look to anyone who you have respect for, who have earned your respect, and contemplate what principles mean in that context. I also would like to suggest that you lie very still, or you sit very still, and you examine, what are values? What are your values? Look it up in a dictionary. Look up the word values. And sit with that. Truly sit with that. Meditate on that until you know what your values are. So that if you were in a conversation, a philosophical conversation with me at this moment, we could have a deep discussion about values. Until we know what values are, what our own values are, we haven't examined ourselves. We can't engage in a spiritual evolving without knowing some of these basic tenets. We also must take a look at the word morals. What does moral mean? What are your morals? What's the line that you can't cross? Is that a line of morals? Where do you stand? And then also the word honor. What does honor mean to you? And ethics. I'd like you to sit with all of these one at a time and investigate so that you know. Because when you know the answers to these questions, you will know yourself and you will be very much on your way in your spiritual evolving. And you will find that this war against humanity today, this spiritual battle, will become less weighty on your shoulders. We all will die one moment or another. This year, 50 years, maybe even 100 years from now. But what matters about every moment that we are alive? What matters to you? Is it not that you have a sense of joy and love and centeredness in your being? Is it not that you have a delight, a curiosity, a creative bent in your days? That you accomplish something that's unique to you, as every individual, every man and woman and boy and girl on this planet are unique? Then let us embrace that. So let us say that we are going to die this evening. Let us just say that. We won't know. What will give you a sense of calm about that knowing? Just suppose. What will give you a sense of, it's all right. I've done what I needed to do. I'm at peace in my heart. I'm at peace in my body. I've loved and I've received love. I'm a good person. I have helped build my community. I give when I can, and I create all the time. I bring a joy, and I bring a knowledge. So I contribute. what better sense of self can you come up with? So let's say that you are going to die in 2 years. What would you do? How would you achieve that balance and that calm within? Make this a test. Take this to heart. Learn and calm yourself. Do not allow emotions to rule your life. That's what the one world order is doing. They use emotions to trap us and trip us and tip us and topple us until we are no more than a ball of wiggly, earthwormy kind of things without any sense of discipline and control over our own being. At the same time, our body is responding with cortisol spiking and shooting through our veins. And we have no logic, no logos at that point in time. We are just a mass of emotions. So we need to learn to control our emotions. But what more is that than discipline? Discipline is the core. It's at the core of responsibility. It's the core of freedom. It's the core of choice. And then we must know what makes us up in terms of all those principles. You know, we've been taught such a pack of lies for so long. And I remember being told in 1999 by a woman who sat in front of me and said, everything that you know has been a lie. And I looked at her and I was shocked because I didn't really know who she was. And I kind of took pride in the fact that I knew a few things. But since then, I've realized she was 100% correct. So now in 2023, May 16th, I realized she was correct. And I'm having to relearn everything. So join me in this wonderful exploration where every day I greet my day in meditation and then in prayer, recalling all of my friends and family, the ones who are near and dear and those who are far and dear across the globe. And then all in my family close to me right here with whom I have responsibility for. And then myself. And one last area that I want to touch on, and I'm writing a book on this, but it has to do with health and healing. You know, if we want to be free, we must be free not only in our mind, in our emotions, in our spirit, but in our body. How do we gain our health and healing? We have the capacity within our own body to heal every disease. We might need some surgery, perhaps, for a broken bone, but even that is questionable. But everything else we can heal. Our body can heal. We don't need to look outside of ourselves for an allopathic doctor and their toxic drugs and their surgeries. There's almost 1 million, perhaps over 1 million deaths every year in this country due to the allopathic industry. And I'll call it an industry, not a profession. Because the procedures and the toxic drugs and the surgeries and the entire method of damping down our symptoms rather than seeing our symptoms as a roadmap of what the body is expressing. We have within us, in this brilliant body, each one of us, the capacity to live in a healthy body. Let's learn together This is a beginning of a series. And then you will find my book on the shelves in time. But come learn with me. I welcome you to my world of health and healing.